and risk slipping into a large pit next to their school compound.
Also coming up in the top stories, island community in the Volta region gets electricity for the first time in 60 years.
Also mission tonight, we travel to the Upper West region from where only a single midwife serves the Dafiama Health Center. Bring the details.
Elsewhere on the continent, Zimbabwe's new president, Emmerson Mnangagwa, replaces 2 ministers 2 days after announcing his cabinet.
We'll bring you details of these and more coming up here in the next 60 minutes here on News 360. You want to stay with us.
To our very first story, and 24-year-old Mary Nkrumah, who lives with Down syndrome, has stayed in class 1 for 10 years. Her enrollment in school is to improve her speech, but she may still need to wait a little while due to lack of attention and facilities at the National Inclusive Basic School. A report by Spencer Kwabena Boate in Mensa.
On the school compound, Mary Nkrumah caught our attention and wanted her class to be filmed first. Mary enjoys special education as enshrined in the 1992 Constitution for persons with disabilities. Teachers here are responsible to improve the speech and language of children living with autism, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, and attention deficit hyperactive persons. Teaching a combined class is difficult, according to school authorities, but some pupils are improving steadily. Others, as a result of the severity of their condition, are slow learners and may stay a little while before moving to another class, and Mary is one of them.
Very good.
Irrespective of her condition, Mary, who enrolled when a Germany NGO established the school in 2007, continues to do what she does best, coloring. She looks forward to a day when she will visit the speech and language class after marking time for 10 years.
How are you?
I'm fine. Her communication wasn't all that clear, but now she has really improved.
Mary's only opportunity to change her class is when the 150 population of the school meets at preschool to learn songs ahead of festivities. This Christmas comes with that opportunity. Authorities here say they use the Ghana Adaptive Behavior Model to determine the progress of pupils. For those who have made it into vocational class, getting their works on the international market is a satisfaction. Pupils contribute a role and together they make bags and beads for exhibition in Colombia. Over the past 10 years, only 2 pupils have successfully entered an inclusive school. Emmanuel Saki has multiple disability. He is good at reading and singing, but is still attracted to the special school.
Otu is a short boy.
Samuel Enin lives with cerebral palsy. He likes science and maths and plays for the school team.
He came to this school about 4 years ago, and now he's coping very well with the regular pupils here in this class. How are you?
I'm fine.
Where do you come from?
Ufida.
What would you be in future?
My future is football.
Nana Erajua is their class teacher at the EJP Brown Basic School.
Both of them, averagely, I'll say they are good. They have their own abilities aside their inabilities.
December 3 is celebrated as the International Day of People with Disability.
Well, it's a clear case of concern, and you were talking about the integration.
Yes, I think that we should really look at that policy really well. You know, you could see that these children want to learn, they want to be part of their mates, their colleagues.
Absolutely.
But the facilities, they need special aids to be able to meet, you know, the standard of, you know, their colleagues in class.
Who are able.
Exactly.
There's a lot of commitment verbally to this, but less of action. But let's still stay with the day, being the World Disability Day. The Center for Equal Access, CEA, has urged government to address the employment needs of persons with disability. In a statement issued to commemorate this year's International Day of Persons with Disability, the Center for Equal Access expressed concern about the increasing number of persons with disability who remain unemployed. The Center for Equal Access acknowledged government's initiative to recruit some persons with disabilities as toll booth operators, but added a lot more must be done to ensure the fulfillment of the rights of persons with disability by supporting equal access to employment. In Ghana, the Center for Equal Access tasked government to promote inclusive development by collating data on persons with disability, supporting vocational training and alternative employment opportunities as well, and implementing provisions in the Disability and Labour Acts, and craft a clearly defined policy that addresses the peculiar needs of persons with disability. The theme for this year's International Day of Persons with Disability is transformation towards sustainable and resilient society for all.
Well, still staying on the issue, over 20 pupils with visual impairment at the National Basic Inclusive School in Cape Coast risk slipping into a large pit next to their school compound. Even more pupils may also not take part in the end of term exams due to breakdowns of study logistics. Spencer Kwabena Boateng Mensah visited the school and his father's report.
Various indicators of the Sustainable Development Goals make references to disability advocacy in areas not limited to education. After decades of UN's work in the field of disability, including the observation of December 3 as International Day of Disabled Persons, many issues still appear unattended to in Ghana. Goal 4, which is on the provision of quality and equitable inclusive education for all, is far from being achieved at the National Basic Inclusive School. The main entrance of the school is not accessible by persons with visual impairment and multiple disabilities. The compound itself is not disability friendly, contrary to the Disability Act in 2016 to campaign for the making of public places accessible by persons with handicaps. The major problem for pupils with visual impairment at the school, however, is access to study materials, as many of the Perkins machines they use have broken down. Pupils use the Braille machines for writing during classes and examinations as an alternative, but this delays academics and affects performances during BECE. But it appears the challenges confronting the school is not only contained within.
Just a few steps away from the school compound is this huge pit you see behind me here, and on my extreme left is where food vendors also provide food to pupils during break time. Now, we are told already that last week one pupil living with visual impairment slept here and suffered some injury, and so the danger is that if this is not fenced as soon as possible, many pupils with visual impairment may risk their lives.
Okay, so still on the International Day of Persons Living with Disabilities, one of the few documents you can refer to in terms of government promise to the persons living with disability is the 2016 NPP manifesto. And this is the government, the party in power, and the promises that they gave to the persons living with disability, and that what they said they were going to do. On to this day, as we celebrate today, we're going to recall exactly what the NPP said in the 2016 manifesto, and how much of it has been done in the first year of his administration. So the NPP in 2016 manifesto promised to amend the Disability Act to bring it into line with the United Nations Convention on Disability and pass appropriate legislative instruments for the implementation of Disability Act 2006, Act 715. It also promised to implement equal employment opportunity and policies for appointment into public offices for persons living with disability. And to recall, that statement from the center, which we brought to you earlier on, is asking government to live by the promise of equal access to employment opportunity. Also, staff and properly resource the National Council on Persons with Disability in partnership with civil society organizations. Also, implement inclusive education for persons with disability, and also ensure the National Council on Persons with Disability is decentralized to the regional level in order to coordinate the activities of various federations. And if you recall, AC, you mentioned the implementation of inclusive education for persons with disability. That was captured in the NPP manifesto. We're still waiting to see exactly what will be done with that. Enforce Section 18 of the Disability Act that provides for free education for persons with disability. I want to assume that the free SHS program is ongoing. Persons with disabilities at the senior high school level would have been enjoying this. Implement the 3% increase in common fund disbursement to persons with disability announced in the 2012, but which remains unimplemented. So it was repeated in the 2016 manifesto of the NPP. Ensure that the portion of the District Assembly's common fund meant for persons with disability are disbursed through the decentralized district regional offices of the National Council for Persons with Disability. And finally, the party also pledged to modernize, improve, and resource special training school for persons with disability to train them on technical and skills training programs. Encourage private institutions to reserve also a quota of jobs that can be filled by persons with disability. This particular one, encouraging private institutions to reserve a quota of jobs that can be filled by persons with disability, has not also been fulfilled. And that's what persons of disability are calling for and are so happy about. It's early days yet, you see. This particular administration is a year old, but they have 3 years more to go. As we have outlined this for accountability purposes, we're still going to be checking it on a yearly basis to find out exactly what government does in fulfilling this promise to persons with disability. Let's go on to the telephone now. And Emmanuel Fosu-Yeboah is a person living with disability, but also the founder of Emmanuel's Dream. Mr. Fosu-Yeboah, good evening to you. Thank you very much for your time this evening. Now, 1 year on of this particular administration, what would be your assessment in helping persons with disabilities?
Thank you so much for calling me. I started doing this many years ago, even more than 20 years now. And it's my passion for me to help the disabled people because I'm a disabled person too as well. So I have the passion and I know how I can be able to convince my people to be part of what I'm doing. So that's how everything started.
I see. Now, I'm sure you have expectations of government. I mean, in your personal capacity, you're doing something to help persons with disability. But going forward, as we outlined what they said they were going to do for you, the persons living with disabilities, what are your expectations?
I didn't read much about so many things they're going to do for disabled people, and especially anything they are going to do in the government to help the person with disability. They have to contact those people or what the beneficiaries, they have to contact them and say, okay, we are going to build a house for you. How do you want your house? We are going to buy you a car. How do you want your car to be? Because I'm as a Ghanaian and I live in outside Ghana. I work with the UN before. I work with several agencies before. Every year, 3rd December like this, USAID send me to different countries to work with them. Geneva, so many places. I've been there, Japan and all those countries, to help them how we can able to get disability law. It will favor the whole world. Why America, you can see disabled person begging on the street. But when you come to Ghana, you can see a disabled person begging on the street. So that is something how we have to figure out how we can able to make this change, because we can make a changes for everyone to feel like I'm a citizen in this country, but not someone to feel like I'm a second-class citizen or maybe I'm not belongs to this country. So there are so many things the government have to do, but they have to contact the disabled first. They can't just wrap anything for us, and it's not going to favor disabled people. So they have to contact us so that we can tell them what we need.
Okay, Zofzeba, thank you very much for your time this evening, and I wish you well. Grateful for your time. That's Emmanuel Ofosu-Yeboah, is the founder of Emmanuel's Dream, is a person living with disabilities. I must mention that a number of interventions have been made already with the appointment of a minister with some form of disability and some appointments at the various district levels, and also persons who are with disabilities also manning some toll booths. It's a directive government has given. But we wait to see what happens.
It is true, but I think that more so government should also shift attention to, you know, the rural communities where they are less privileged and also have some challenges and they are not able to do anything for themselves.
Absolutely.
There are some schools or institutions trying to help, but I tell you, with much difficulty.
There's a lot more that needs to be done.
This is still News 360. Let's continue with a bulletin, and with a middle income status as a Ghana Beyond Aid and brand, social protection is one of the areas that could be affected as government builds an economy that is not dependent on charity and handouts. Civil society and faith-based organizations at a stakeholders meeting want government to put in place appropriate measures to enable the country build upon its social protection agenda.
Social protection provides a basis for delivering human rights, as well as building and developing the human resource of a nation for its growth. One of such social intervention programs in Ghana include the Livelihood Empowerment Against Poverty LEAP, a cash transfer system to extremely poor and vulnerable families, among other measures. Choko, a fishing community in Greater Accra region, has over 230 LEAP beneficiaries. I visited the home of 94-year-old Adelaide Latte. She told me she has been a beneficiary since LEAP started.
I started collecting 2008. The money is good for me. I take it to the hospital. I use it to buy chewing sponge, kerosene, because I cannot walk, so I sell it here.
The LEAP has been able to sustain some people at certain areas of their lives where they don't even have ordinary food to eat. It has been good, and I think it is very laudable.
Social protection is a development concept that has gained increased attention in relation to poverty reduction and prevention of marginalization. But how well is this concept understood?
If you listen to people's attitudes to things like LEAP or school feeding, there's a perception that you are rewarding laziness, or there are people who don't want to work. You are giving people things for free and so on. But it's important that we do very good education on social protection so that we understand it as an investment in Ghana's human capital and sustainable development.
Page 42 of the National Social Protection Policy encourages faith-based organizations, among other things, to continue social protection programs, particularly in underserved areas. As a middle-income country and a country projecting itself beyond aid, some stakeholders believe measures should be put in place to ensure faith-based institutions and civil society can continually contribute meaningfully to social protection.
We are calling our leaders that the more we hear Ghana, building Ghana beyond aid, the infrastructure that will make Ghana beyond aid possible must equally be built. It should not just be a political talk. The NGOs and civil society groups that are helping correcting the poverty, the inequalities can assess. Else the NGOs will collapse because now donor funding are no more coming to us.
It means that we have to find adequate fiscal space, fiscal allocation. We have to be able to make tax allocations available to support these interventions. But money is a question of priorities. And so we have to be able to advocate so that we put our monies where our mouths are. That means that there must be meaningful budgetary allocation to some of these things.
Meanwhile, the Christian Council of Ghana, in collaboration with the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection and UNICEF, have held a meeting on charting the way forward for partnership between the faith community and government in the delivery of social protection.
Now, 60 years after its founding, inhabitants of Aglakope, an island community in the Kratchi West district of the Volta region, can now boast of access to electricity. Aglakope joins 5 island communities as beneficiaries of a World Bank-funded $2.5 million mini-grid renewable energy project.
Aglakope is one of the hundreds of island communities along the Volta Lake established following the creation of the Akonsombo Dam. Ironically, these communities never benefit from the hydropower generated by the dam, which takes the source from the lake. Inhabitants continue to depend on kerosene lamp and candles to light their way at night. The least said about the internet connection here, the better. A few who can afford use diesel-run generators. But all these have changed after the community was selected for a mini-grid renewable power pilot. Other beneficiary communities are Kudokope in Kratchi East, Atiga Goma and Wayakope, both in Sini East, and Pediatokope in the Adan East district. The mini-grids, with a generation capacity of 200 kilowatts, was constructed under the Ghana Energy Development and Access Program. The facility is capable of providing 24-hour electricity to a total of 6,500 population in each locality. Unlike the hydro, the generating source for the mini-grid system is mainly solar and wind. Every beneficiary is provided with a prepaid system to ensure accountability. Trained members of the community will manage the facility with supervision from the Electricity Company of Ghana. Deputy Energy Minister in charge of power, William Orekwedu, assured of government's determination to extend power to all communities. The model, according to the tax lead of the World Bank, Shinya Nishimura, is the first in Africa. A resident, Francis Azauto, expressed delight over the project, which he described as life-transforming. The project is expected to bring a remarkable improvement in the living standards of these deprived communities, including healthcare delivery, basic education, and enhanced economic and social activities.
In other news, over 3,000 community policing assistants are to be deployed to assist in policing in the Tema Metropolis. The move, according to the Regional Police Command, was part of a new reform of strengthening policing and to fight crime.
The policemen form part of the new reforms by the police administration to deepen community policing. They were drawn from the visibility and community policing teams. The men will be deployed to various units in the command on Monday, December 4th. As part of new efforts, the police administration will add on 15,000 community police assistants to be enlisted to support in crime combat. The Director General in charge of National Patrol at the Ghana Police Service, COP Yagai Akuriba, noted the training was handy to help shape the new image of the police service.
The numbers has always been a problem, but we can surmount this if the community would form neighborhood committees and even be willing to give information concerning crime in the area, because the crime prevention is in partnership.
The Tema Regional Police Command, DCOP George Tufo, reckoned the training will also improve community policing within the region.
If you want to be effective, you have to take the elements of the concept in achieving results, and which we have exploited to our advantage. We have done a lot by using the concept, and we think we will achieve more as a result of the concept.
Absolutely. Nanefia Sewa Kobiampem II there. Let's go to the Ashanti region. A Durbar of chiefs of Asanteman was held at the forecourt of Menchia Palace to mark the last Akwesidai for the year on the Ashanti calendar. The event was part of activities marking the final funeral rites of the late Asantehima Nana Efia Sewa Kobiampem II.
Akwesidai is a very important event on the calendar of the Ashanti Kingdom. It is celebrated every 40 days by chiefs to acknowledge the role their predecessors played in preserving their lands and their heritage for posterity. It is a special day for chiefs to visit the stew house and pour libation for peaceful and prosperous life. The current event is even more special as it coincided with the final funeral rites of the Queen Mother. The Durbar at Menchia Palace attracted high-profile personalities such as the former President Kufuor, new and old ministers of state. Also present were religious leaders and other groups. The arrival of the Asantehene Otumfuo Osei-Etu II to the Durbar grounds was a sight to behold. He was welcomed with a standing ovation by dignitaries to the grounds.
Still staying on that, security apparatus have taken control of the Ashanti regional capital, especially the Menchia Palace, as the Asante man celebrates the Akwesidai Tuntum. The regional desk take a look at security of events, which also forms part of activities of the 2-week final funeral rites of the late Asantehima Nana Efia Kobiampem II.
There were concerns the grand nature of the late Asantehima's funeral might bring a golden opportunity for hoodlums to terrorize innocent people who might be visiting the city. A number of police and military personnel were positioned at vantage points in the capital since the beginning of the funeral on Friday. TV3 News gathered, apart from the armed police and military team who are visible, additional policemen in civilian clothing are present. Physically built security men and women who have been dispatched to ensure law and order. The Menchia Divisional Police Commander ACP Kwekubwa has given the assurance security is in firm control. Most mourners commended the security agencies for showing professionalism.
On News 360, we're back shortly with some more news and Mission tonight. Tuesday.
Stay with us. Hello and welcome to Mission Ghana with support from Star Ghana, funding from UKAID, Danida and the European Union. Let's to our very first story. And only a single midwife served the Health Center in the Upper West region. Though there are supporting staff, the only midwife says work is affected when she had to attend to other duties in the catchment area to deal with emergencies.
Refer the case to the hospital. The pregnancies are occurring, deliveries are going on. Nature cannot wait for the roads to be made before women will deliver.
Ensuring their safety is therefore key. The Dafiama Health Center has a projected population of 13,642 for 2017. One midwife is therefore not enough.
If I'm away for an official duty, and there's a labor case, they have to refer the case to the nearest health facility, that is the hospital. So I think if the government should come in or the management should come in to support us with another service personnel like 2 midwives or 3, in addition to the current one, it will make work more easier.
The area has a women infertility age of 3,274, and they must be taken care of. The facility is in quite good condition and offers attention to several women who otherwise would have resorted to other means of health care. 5 health centers and 13 CHIPS compounds are what the district has. Staffing is a challenge. Nurses and midwives are the highest level of staff in the district.
We have been making efforts trying to see how we can get locum physician assistants, and we've been able to engage the services of one physician assistant currently in one of the health centers. The facilities with no medical officers are just allowed to charge something very minimal, and so their generation is not also much. So how then do we afford the services of these physician assistants who also come and they charge so much? You cannot not afford.
This is negating efforts at improving health. Medical staff posted continue to leave.
If you bring a midwife from Accra, you post him to the firm, say, sir, and you ask him to go and live in the same room where the community member is living, of course, he's not going to accept that. And so they come and look at your district, and they tell you they will go and come back. And that is the last time you would ever see them.
The district assembly wants some attention from central government.
If you know the district very well, it's very difficult to assess some of the communities, even from the district capital. And so when people are sick there, and if they are not lucky to have a CHIPS compound, they are referred to the nearest health center. They will go there, and if they are not lucky, they will refer them to Nadoli, and if they are not lucky, they will refer them to Wa. And as I said, the roads are very bad, and you don't have any means of transport there apart from this Motor Kings. We need interventions from central government and whoever that can support us to improve upon our roads.
Until this is done, it will be difficult to attract health workers to the Dafiama Busie Issa district. Bright Nanamfo, TV3.
Her woes began some 13 years ago when her last 2 children were born with abnormal curvature of the bones. She spends her entire day on the children who cannot walk or do anything for themselves. Peter Kwadato spent a day with 48-year-old Rebecca Autry and her 2 children who are struggling to access healthcare and education.
It was about 7:15 in the morning of Tuesday, October 17. And the location was at Greek Nzima Abrasu, a suburb of the Ashanti regional capital, Kumasi. In the corner of a semi-completed compound house was 10-year-old Eugene Autry brushing his teeth. His unusual position was not by choice anyway. Eugene was born with abnormal curvature of the bones. All 2 lower limbs are deformed. In the hall nearby is Eugene's elder brother, 13-year-old Marvin, timidly looking on from his old and obsolete wheelchair. He was born earlier with the worst form of the abnormal curvature of the bones. All 4 limbs are deformed and weak. He had fallen down days earlier and fractured the left arm, which is only being treated with a balm. Eugene moves towards the bathroom to prepare for school. The cause of Marvin and Eugene's conditions are not known. Soon, 2 schoolboys appeared on the compound. They are Marvin's classmates who have chosen to help him to and from school. A cursory look through Marvin's books showed an excellent academic performance.
Their academic work is par excellence, yet I'm unable to support them and provide their needs. My prayer is that society will come to our aid in order that they may continue to stay in school.
Prince Nsafwa Yeboah and Jeffrey Pugataba took control of Marvin's obsolete wheelchair. Slowly and carefully, they guided it through hills and valleys to the makeshift school and straight into the junior high Form 1 classroom. The head of the school confirmed Marvin's academic wonders.
He is very good using the computer, phones, any electronics that is given to him. He's good in drawing. He can create a lot of things that he needs support from other people to help him finish. And if God grace, he can walk, do all things that other people can do.
Back in the house, Eugene is ready but has to wait for a taxi because, unlike Marvin, he has no wheelchair. And for 7 years, this is what Rebecca Autry has been going through as a sole parent to the boys. Their father, Kojo Autry, had abandoned the family. Sales from these food products is what is used to feed the boys and cater for their needs, but obviously not enough for healthcare considerations.
So I plead with all Ghanaians to help me take care of the 2 boys, their school and healthcare. I am at my wit's end.
And Rebecca's only hope for medical attention during a humanitarian medical outreach at the First Care Hospital was unsuccessful. The condition of Marvin and his brother Eugene can only be addressed outside Ghana, according to the medical team. With her hopes dashed, Rebecca and her 2 challenged children would only have to wait for another humanitarian mission to try their luck.
Well, probably we should be seeking insight from health experts, why some of these things happen. Because this afternoon also, we also showed a story where a woman has 5 children who are all cripples. And I think that we should be seeking answers from medical experts. And that's it for Mission Ghana, with support from Star Ghana, funding from UK Aid, Danida, and the European Union. Join us same time next week for another edition of Mission Ghana.
Welcome back to News 360. Now, school authorities at the Tema Manhian Senior High Technical School have expressed frustration about the deplorable state of infrastructure in the school. They believe infrastructure and the structures of the school most hearts contribute to poor academic performance in the school.
The Tema Manhian Senior High Technical School was established some 26 years ago to produce students in the technical field. The school presently has 800 students, including 100 females, in the technical field. Its infrastructure is not the best. With 5 departments, the vocation and the technical units are the most deprived.
We don't look like a school which is 26 years because we are deprived of a lot of facilities and amenities. For instance, we don't have a well-furnished library, we don't have assembly hall, we don't have dormitories for boys and girls, no accommodation for staff, even including the head. So we are pleading the stakeholders to come to the aid of Tema Manhian Senior High Technical.
A new classroom block under construction has been abandoned. The Chief Executive Officer of the Gratis Foundation was unhappy public perception about technical education was for the academically weak. He called for adequate logistical support to enable technical institutions produce the needed manpower. The Member of Parliament for Tema East, Titus Glover, promised to tackle some of the educational constraints of the school.
In 2019, that's what I'm going to do. My assignment is a level of instruction. There and Tema Technical Institute is also in my constituency. That's some of the things I want to look at.
In other news, the Customs, Excise and Preventive Service Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority topped an actual corruption survey conducted by the Ghana Integrity Initiative and partners in 2017. The survey, which sampled the views of 18 million people, showed even though the police is still perceived as the most corrupt institutions, the majority paid bribes to SEPS officials.
It's time to change habits and decisively break that cycle, because corruption holds back every aspect of economic and civil life.
Unlike the previous years, the Ghana Integrity Initiative Survey 2017 moved from corruption perception to the reality and actual corruption. Code name Accountable Democratic Institution System Strengthening, ADIS, The project, with support from USAID, seeks to understand the depth of corruption. It sampled the largest ever respondents of some 8 million people across the country.
And then it came to the fore that although the police service was actually still noted by the citizens or perceived by the citizens as the most corrupt institution, when it came to their experience of corruption and who is paying bribes, they actually said that the Ghana Customs Division of the GRA was the most corrupt.
But was the research targeted at identifying the quantum of bribery in this regard?
When it comes to the taking of bribes, you are talking about both petty and grand. If you really look at the survey, you understand why people will say that they are paying more at Customs Division.
The executive director of the Ghana Integrity Initiative, Linda Ofori-Kwafo, was speaking at the Police and Civil Society Dialogue Workshop in Accra.
It is expected that the outcome of this interaction will bring out critical responses to the continuous perceived corrupt posture of the service.
The dialogue series was organized by the Police Intelligence and Professional Standards Bureau, PIPS, aimed at enhancing accountability among personnel.
With a monthly average complaints of 102, this workshop seeks to identify what the police need to do and where to focus to change these perceptions.
A representative from the European Union commended the Ghana Police for the ongoing transformation.
On the demand side, the civil society, the focus we believe is to raise awareness for citizens and civil society actors to hold government to account, to demand more accountability and tolerate less corruption.
The executive director of the Ghana Integrity Initiative, Linda Ofori-Kwafo, urged all personnel to put their shoulders to the wheel towards the recommended goal.
Okay.